Okay, next homework problem is actually problem in the text 15-3A. And I should remind you that the solutions to these problems that I'm doing using these the numbers that are here in the textbook are on Canvas under the problem A solutions. So you can follow along, or you can look back on them. Look at the problem in the text, which I'm looking at right here, and if you want to see the solution, it's there on Canvas. So I'm just working it out so you can see how it's actually done. So now we've got a problem here, same type of problem, job order costing. They give us the information in a little different way, but again, we just need to organize it so I can see what's going on. This is Widmer Watercrafts, and their overhead rate is 200%. They think that in the coming year, their overhead is going to be twice as much as their labor, and they want to charge jobs an appropriate amount of overhead, and they feel that labor is a good indication of how big a job is. So since in total overhead is going to be twice as much as labor, every single job should get charged twice its labor as overhead. So that's the theory behind it. And they go through and they tell us what materials were purchased on credit, the requisitions show, paid $15,000 to a computer consultant to reprogram the factory equipment. Time cards show how much labor was incurred. We're going to apply overhead, transfer jobs, sell jobs, incur certain costs, and then apply overhead to various jobs. So required. They want us to, one, prepare a job cost sheet for each job worked during the month. Okay, so, and then what do they want? They want the journal entries to record all these transactions, A through H. Set up T accounts, okay, we're going to do that, and then a report showing some things. So that's what we'll do here. Okay, just to help me get my mind wrapped around all these numbers they're hitting me with, I know that every manufacturer has a raw materials inventory, a work in process, and a finished goods. Likewise, I know it has a factory overhead account where we're going to accumulate the actual overhead, and then we're going to take it out of here and apply it to work in process. Work in process is going to be represented by job cost sheets. I don't know how many I'm going to need. I'll put like 4 of them. In these homework problems, I usually don't put a whole lot. Okay. Probably going to sell some jobs when they're completed. Sales. Cost of goods sold. So gosh, maybe I should photocopy this and just have them so when we work on them. But anyway, for now. So it says, going back to the problem now, it says that the overhead application rate is 200%. So I'm going to put just right here, 200%. They're going to apply overhead to jobs at the rate of 200% of direct labor. And in total, they're going to apply it at 200% of the direct labor. That's the rate. Okay, so now it says, what does it say? I think we're really starting with any beginning balances. So let me just drop in what we know. It says that A, purchased raw materials on credit, $200,000. Well, I know that when we buy raw materials, we debit raw materials and credit accounts payable. B, material requisitions record use for the month shows this. And I'll show you what they got here. This is what they're saying. material requisition shows that a total of 147,500 was taken out of raw materials. 128,000 can be traced directly to jobs. That's direct materials. And 19,500 cannot. Those are indirect materials that were used. Either they are so small they didn't want to trace them to jobs, or they just don't go to jobs. So I need to record those. So now the authors, they actually do it in two separate entries. Let's do the direct materials first. 128,000 of materials was taken for direct materials, and 19,500 were taken for indirect materials. Let's see if I can get in here, working around the camera. 19,500. So these are both B. Direct materials used, they get it right from raw materials. Indirect materials used, they get it also from raw materials. What does C say? Paid $15,000 cash to a computer consultant to reprogram the factory equipment. Well, that's a factory expense. Is it direct materials? No. Is it direct labor? Nope. It's factory overhead. So what would we call it? Consultant, I think. Just so I remember what it is. $15,000. That's just another factory overhead expense. Time tickets showed the following. Time tickets for the month showed that we actually incurred $126,000 of labor. Direct labor, of that 126, 102,000 can be traced directly to these jobs. The other 24,000 is indirect labor, and that's the janitor or downtime or security. So we need to record that. Well, this is D. This is the D. So, well, D is direct labor. We're going to record this 102,000 direct labor. What do we do with the indirect portion, the 24,000 indirect? Well, like every other indirect expense, it goes to factory overhead. $24,000. Yeah. E. Let's see what we got here. E. We're going to apply overhead to, well, let's see here. Oh, you know what? I forgot a step, and maybe didn't forget, but I overlooked it. When I add direct materials to work in process, 128,000, what else do I have to do? Of course, I've got to add it to jobs, and I did not do that. So I do need to do that. Let's go back to the materials. You know what? We actually have 5 jobs here. There's actually 5 jobs. So we've got job 136, 137, 138, 139, and 140. And of that $128,000 of direct materials used right there, these are the jobs that it was actually traced to. 48,000 to job 136, 32,000 to 137, 19,200 to 138, 22,400 to 129 or 139, and then 6,400 to 140. We need to do the exact same thing with labor. We had direct labor of 102,000, which were traced to these jobs, so we charged 102,000 to work in process. We need to also update the job cost sheets. Of that 102,000, 12,000 went to job 136, 10,500 to 137, 37.5 to 138, 39,000 to 139, and 3,000 to 140. Good. Now the two totals that I added to work in process, I have now updated job cost sheets. Now I can do this. Apply overhead to jobs 136, 137, and 138. Now we could do it to all jobs, but they simply just want us to, I guess that we finished 136, 137, and 138. We haven't finished these yet, but since these are done, they wanted us to cost them out. Figure out the overhead just for these. So, okay, well, let's do that. What is overhead being applied at what rate? 200% of direct labor, which means that I need to charge these three jobs with twice as much of their direct labor. And I'll do these later. Well, this is 12,000. 136 had direct labor of 12,000, so it's going to get charged 24. 137 had direct labor of 10,500, so it'll get charged 21,000. And then 37,500, it'll get charged 75,000. So just to charge these jobs, the 24,000 plus the 21 plus the 75. I'm going to take 120 and apply factory overhead to just the first three jobs, because that's all they wanted me to do. Apply overhead to 136. Oh no. Sorry. Okay, well, and this is a good example. We need to watch the numbers. It was not 137. It was 136, 138, and 139. So we haven't done this one yet. So, and I like, and I kind of like it when things like this happen, because it shows that none of us are infallible. We've got to watch these numbers. So 136, 138, and 139, this is 78,000. So the 24 charged to 136, the 75 to 138, which is twice as, 200% of its labor, and the 78 to 139, this is 177. And I'm going to check, there's another way to compute this. I'm going to check my math. The total labor on these three jobs was 12,000, 37,500, and 39, for a total of 88,500. 200% of that is 177,000. Good, it works in total as well. Okay, good. So we've charged overhead to 136, 138, and 139. Now the reason we did charge those is because we're going to transfer those jobs to finished goods. Oh, okay, these jobs are done. I always like to kind of indicate somehow when a job is done. So what is their cost? Well, this job ended up being a total cost of 48,000 plus 12 plus 24. Total cost of 84,000. 138 had a total cost of 131,700. That's why we keep these job cost sheets, so I know what each job cost. 139 was finished at a total cost of 139,400, and I want to transfer those three costs out of here to finished goods because they are done. So what's the total? 355, 100. That's the cost of these three jobs. 355, 100. Just out of curiosity, what's left in work in process? We take the 128, the 102, the 177, and I subtract 355, 100. Right now there's still a cost of 51,900. Isn't that what these two costs, what these should be right here? What do they add up to? 32, 10,500, 6,400, and 3,000. 51,900. Yep, they sure should. Good. So we have transferred now 136, 138, and 139 to finished goods. And we do that by debiting finished goods and crediting work in process. That's cost of goods manufactured. That's what we finished. We're going to sell jobs 136 and 138 on credit. On credit for $525,000. So first let's record the sale. Then let's record the transfer of the cost. We sold them for $525,000, so I know that I need to credit sales for $525,000. What do I debit? Well, we sold them on credit. We're going to debit accounts receivable. And what was the cost of the jobs I sold? I actually sold 138, 6, and 138. These two. And their cost totaled 84 and 131, 700. 215,700. So to the journal entry would be a debit to cost of goods sold and a credit to finished goods. Where will that leave this balance? It better add up to the one job that's still in there, 139, 400. 355, 100 minus the 215, 215 leaves 139, 400, which is exactly what it is. It says the company incurred the following overhead costs for the month. Credit prepaid insurance for the expired insurance. Well, this is factory overhead. So we have depreciation of $68,000, depreciation of $36,500, insurance of $10,000, just dumping these numbers into factory overhead, and then property taxes of $35,000. To record the entry, if they want it individually, we'll debit factory overhead for $68,000 and credit accumulated depreciation factory building for $68,000. Then we'll debit factory overhead for $36,500 and credit accumulated depreciation factory equipment. It told us to credit factory insurance, credit prepaid insurance for the insurance, so we're going to debit factory overhead for $10,000 and credit prepaid insurance because we'd already paid for it. And since this is accrued property taxes payable, we're going to debit factory overhead for $35,000 and credit probably accrued property taxes payable or accounts payable for $35,000. Got that done. Great. It wants us to apply overhead to these two jobs that are still here. Yeah. These jobs are still in progress at the end of the month. We costed out these jobs when they were done. These are still here, so let's charge them with their factory overhead for the month. And remember, it's a 200% application rate, so I'm going to charge this job with $21,000, 200% of its direct labor. And I'm going to charge this job with $6,000, so that's a grand total of $27,000. So I need to make an entry to apply factory overhead to those. Yeah, we're just applying factory overhead to the jobs that are still here. It's going to change this to work in process has a balance of $78,900. That better be what these job cost sheets add up to. This currently has a cost of $15,400. This has a cost of $63,500, and these two together, $78,900. $78,900. The balance of work in process is the total cost of the two jobs I still have. They wanted us to do journal entries to record all these entries, and we can see what they are. Yeah. And like I said, the solution is at Canvas, so you can see what the entries were to record the purchase of materials, and the direct materials being used, and the indirect materials being used, and the direct labor being incurred, and the indirect labor being incurred, and consulting fee being incurred, and other factory overhead costs being incurred, and overhead being charged to jobs at the predetermined rate, and finished jobs being transferred to finished goods, and sold jobs being transferred to cost of goods sold with an appropriate entry to record the revenue. It's a matter of organization. It's really what it is. There we go. That's the entire picture. What's the balance of raw materials? Well, we bought 200,000. 128,000 went to direct materials. 19.5 went to indirect materials. That's 52,500. Work in process has an ending balance of 78,900, which is represented by two jobs, 137 and 140, still in process. Finished goods has an ending balance of 139,400, which is one job, still ready to sell. Cost of goods sold represents two jobs, the two jobs that were actually sold. Looks like we have gross profit here, made pretty good money on it. I don't think they've asked for it. But what's the under-applied overhead? Well, actually, actual overhead, I'm just adding the actual overhead up. Actual overhead was 208,000. Applied overhead was 204,000. So we've got a balance right now of $4,000 debit side. Under or over applied? And it is under applied. We haven't applied all of it. But now if this is only the first month in the year, we're just going to let that ride for 11 months. Some months will apply more, some months will apply less. But we'll just let it ride to the end of the year. If this was the end of the year, how would I clean that up? What do I do with it at the end of the year? Well, remember, I just take this account to zero, and if it's got a debit balance right now, I would credit it for $4,000. And what's the other side of the entry? Cost of goods sold. Just take whatever little bit is left, transfer it to cost of goods sold, make it go away. So those are the two homework problems that we have. Again, the solutions are at Canvas. Please track the numbers through if you need to, but on your problems, take a few minutes and just lay out something like this so you can see all the numbers. It's hard to visualize where the numbers are coming and where they're going when they've got them in a paragraph format. A little bit easier to see them here. A little bit easier. So I think maybe what I'll do is I'll load, in a couple days, I'll do another problem just so you can have the practice. You can see another one being prepared. And they're pretty much all done the same way. The rates all work the same way. It's just the numbers are different. And they may give us a little different numbers, but they give us just enough so we can compute the rest. So with that, just keep working on chapter 15. We're going to be on this all next week. So keep working at it. Keep following the examples that are in the book, and take the time to learn this, because it really is. It's not that complicated. There's just a lot of it. Once you get your mind wrapped around it, you're going to be fine. So anyway, hope you're doing well, and we'll catch up with you on the next video.